All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're digging into two really different ways of thinking about, well, how to get what you want out of life. We're drawing this straight from our source material, which lays out these two paths. One is called the magic of poverty. Sounds intriguing, right? And the other is all about the power of investment. So is it better to demand or to earn? Let's find out. Okay, so let's start with a question we all face, right? I mean, think about it. Whether you're asking for a raise at work, a favor from a friend, or even just allowance money back when you were a kid, it turns out how we ask for things can say a whole lot about our entire outlook on life. So really, what is the best way to get what you want?
And to break this down, our source material gives us this perfect little story. It's a tale of two students, both asking their parents for some cash, but their methods, they couldn't be more different. And what's wild is that these two simple requests actually open up a window into two totally conflicting ideas about how the world works.
So here's where we see the big split. On one hand, you've got what the source calls this socialist approach. This one is all about demanding a compromise and using something called the magic of poverty. On the other side, the investor approach, which is based on offering a fair trade, creating value. And look, these aren't just negotiation tactics for getting 20 bucks. They represent two completely different worldviews.
Okay, let's dive into that first one, the magic of poverty tactic. I mean, what even is that? Well, it's a strategy that's all about inflation and obligation. It's kind of devious, actually.
This quote from the character Diesel really nails it. To get whatever you want, use the magic of poverty. Start with asking for a new car and settle for a $30 concert ticket. See what's happening there? It's brilliant in a way. You're not really negotiating, you're setting a trap. The person you're asking feels like they won because they talked you down from a car, but you got the concert ticket you wanted from the start. It's all about making your real goal seem like a reasonable compromise.
So, the playbook for this goes something like this. Step 1, you inflate your needs. You ask for way more than you actually want, say $200 for prom. Step 2, you force a compromise so they feel like they won by getting you down to 100. But then, and this is key, step 3 is creating more debt. You use that compromise against them later. Well, it's your fault I don't have enough now, I need another 100. And finally, you just keep up the pressure. For this mindset, no doesn't mean no, it just means ask me again later. It's a strategy that basically runs on guilt.
Okay, so that's one way. But what about the complete opposite? Let's flip the script and look at the investor's value exchange. This is a whole different ballgame. It's not about taking, it's about contributing and creating growth for everyone involved.
Just listen to the difference in this request. The investor student says, "Dad, could you give me $20 to rent a cheap suit for a dance? If I mow the lawn and trim the bushes?" See, it's not a demand at all. It's an offer. The student is proposing a fair trade. This completely changes the dynamic from begging to partnership. And this simple request shows you everything you need to know about the investor mindset. It's about offering something in return. It's about thinking long-term, not just about the dance next week. The source even mentions how this mindset leads to transforming a single expense, like renting a suit, into a reusable asset, like buying one. The goal here is to create a win-win for everybody.
So when you put these two side by side, the difference in the outcome is just wow. It's night and day. The first student's demand and guilt method gets them $100, but it also creates more debt and probably some resentment. The investor student, with their offer of work, ends up with a long-term asset. One path creates a cycle of taking, the other builds value.
Okay, so this is where it gets really deep, because this isn't just about how you ask your parents for money. According to the source material, these two financial tactics are actually reflections of two completely different spiritual beliefs. The argument is that how you deal with money and favors in this life, well, it mirrors how you approach your soul's journey.
Now, to really get this next part, we need to define a term from the source, karmic sin. Basically, it's described as misused personal energy that creates a kind of debt. And in this view, that energy is just saved for you, waiting for you to come back and deal with it, to purify it yourself. Think of it like a spiritual balance sheet.
And here's how it all connects. The magic of poverty strategy we talked about, that lines up perfectly with what's called the absolver path, the idea that life's debts are forgiven by some external savior. On the flip side, the investor approach mirrors the soul student path, where you pay your own debts by investing in your own wisdom and virtue. See the parallel?
So this really brings us to a huge question about what we're all working toward. You could call it your spiritual retirement plan. Is the afterlife something you just get, like a prepaid vacation, or is it more like an employment opportunity you have to prepare for?
So let's compare these two views of the afterlife. The absolver view is kind of like a prepaid vacation, an all-expenses-paid trip to eternity that you get by believing in a savior who pays off all your debts. The soul student view, though, sees the afterlife as a retirement account. It's something you build yourself by investing your energy in wisdom and virtue, an account that grows over many lifetimes.
So, if you're on the investor path, how do you build this spiritual savings account? Well, the idea is you pay off your karmic debts, past and present, right now. You invest your time and energy in mastering wisdom and divine virtues. You're basically developing your soul's job skills for the afterlife. And this is supposed to create an upward spiral of growth, lifetime after lifetime. It compounds, just like financial interest.
But from the absolver point of view, all this talk about your own spiritual savings account is, well, kind of naive. Why? Because from this perspective, a savior has already paid for everything. Your debt has been wiped clean. It's a totally different mindset.
This, of course, raises a pretty big question from the investor perspective. If you don't invest, what happens? What are the consequences of just sitting back and waiting for a spiritual bailout?
And according to one character, Evan, the answer's pretty stark. The quote says, "Those who do not save up and invest now will not find their treasure multiplied when they most need it." And what happens then? Their soul, along with all their unpaid karmic debt, gets sent back to soul school in another body. Basically, you have to start all over again.
So that's what it all boils down to, really. A huge, fundamental question that our source material puts on the table. Is your life a debt that needs to be forgiven, or is it an investment that's meant to be grown? It's a powerful thought to end on and something to really think about. Thanks for joining this explainer.